Okay, so this is mental toughness class, session 3. And we are going to get started. So this session is about the ideal performance state. And I know that we've had some questions about what that is previously. So we are going to talk about that and learn about what that means. Yeah. So performance state, oh, we have a new friend joining us. Awesome. Hello. We are just getting started with class. This class is recorded, or is that okay with you?
That's my friend Sam.
Is that okay with you, Sam? Can I get a thumbs up, maybe? Perfect. Okay. So performance state is the mindset you have while you're playing your sport. There are 4 performance states that I'm going to talk about today.
I'll be right back. I have to go feed my chickens. Sorry for that.
Okay. No, you're all good. Thank you for letting us know. Say hi to them for us.
Okay.
20 minutes.
So there are 4 different performance states we're going to talk about today, and I'm sure that you could come up with more. But we're going to talk about the 4 main ones that have research on them, and that people have studied. Okay, so there's a lot of different factors that make up your performance state and your ideal performance state. Some of these factors written out on the side are them. And okay, sounds good, Paul. I see your chat. Nicole, was that what you were talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you. So some of these factors on the side are things that you have or do not have in a performance state, and when you have all of them, you are typically in the ideal performance state. So those are being personally challenged, being energized with positive emotions, being ready for fun and enjoyment, being focused and alert, having automatic instincts. Stacey, I see that you're asking everyone to mute themselves. I appreciate that. If you're not muted currently, can you mute yourself? There will be some times for discussion, and I will ask for people's input, but just so we don't have the background noise so everyone can hear. Thank you.
Most people are muted.
What?
Most people are already muted.
Yes, I was seeing that. Thank you, Emily. I just saw something in the chat and wanted to make sure we all recognize that. Being relaxed and calm is another part of the performance state, and then maintaining confidence. So we'll kind of talk about when different factors of these are not present and what happens in those different performance states. But those are the breakdown of the ideal performance state, which we'll get to in a little bit more in depth. So this target here that you are all seeing is like the performance state target. And so each of these like different color circles are different performance states getting closer to the white circle, which is our ideal performance state. And throughout this presentation, it'll kind of break it down. So you'll learn what each of them are, different characteristics of that, and some tools to kind of help shift when you are in that performance state. So the first one is the tanking performance state. So this performance state is when an athlete is not trying. They are saying that they're losing because they didn't really try. They don't have any of the perform aspects there. And it can be a frustrating thing to have a teammate be in the tanking performance state. It can be frustrating. Thank you, Mary, for your comment. You do not have to take notes. If you would like to take notes, you are more than welcome to. But you do not, it is not required. All of this will be up on the website, and there will be some like worksheets on the website talking about this that'll summarize all of this. I don't think they're posted yet, but it will get to that and you'll get them up. Um, has anyone been in the tanking performance state? I know I have. I've definitely had a bad day and have not been trying very hard, have been mad and annoyed at teammates, have been mad and annoyed at myself. So a way to deal with being in a tanking like performance state is setting smaller goals and trying to get those smaller goals instead of getting the overall goal. Because a lot of the time when someone's in the tanking mindset, it's because the overall goal is too big. It looks winning the entire game, you're down by 20 and you can't make any, like you just, everything's going badly. And at that point, it's hard to be like, oh, I want to come back and win the game. We have, a quarter left, and that may not be really realistic if you're down by 20. And so that could be really overwhelming and get you further into a tanking performance state. And so something that you could try to do instead is, oh, I want to make 2 layups or 1 layup, whatever would be reasonable for you. Or I want my team to keep possession of the ball for a full minute. Tanking can happen to one individual. It can happen to a whole team. And I'm definitely in the state that all performance states are contagious. So if you have one member on your team who is really negative, is not trying, is just kind of radiating that negative energy, then that's going to go and be picked up by other athletes. Has anyone ever experienced that? I'm seeing some head shakes.
Yes.
Yeah. Jennifer, do you want to tell us more about when you experienced that? How did it feel?
Well, when I was still doing bocce ball during Special Olympics, there was this one other girl on my bocce ball team that would pout every time she didn't win. Yeah. And it's like, oh God, why does she have to always pout whenever she can't win or whatever?
Yeah. So it sounds like she may have been in that tanking performance state. And it sounds like her attitude made it hard for you to have fun and to have a positive attitude a little bit.
Yeah, and then like she was pouting, and it's like, why when she's not a little kid anymore? And
Yeah. That definitely can be frustrating. I've definitely experienced that as well. And something we're going to talk about in our last lesson next week is ways to kind of work on how to handle those big feelings after you lose or after you win. So that will kind of help address if you're the person that's pouting. Nicole,
I think,
would you like to share something?
yeah. I think on our bowling team, there was this girl who would just never stop talking while people were trying to play.
Yeah.
And it kind of made me angry at her and just didn't want to talk to her.
So it sounds like maybe her behavior kind of put you more in that tanking performance state.
Yeah.
Which can definitely happen. And so then maybe trying to distract yourself with smaller goals could be helpful in that place. Nicole, would you like to share something?
Yes, I was being patient.
Thank you.
Yes, really quick, briefly, 2 quick scenarios. One is with so I always got first place for Special Olympics snowboarding, so I felt that it was the right thing to do is to back out, and I didn't quit it because I still do it with my old life skills class teachers. Anyways, and so when last experience I had up there was when I was teaching a girl how to snowboard for Special Olympics, and then another girl was a downhill skier, and she just pout the whole time like Mary and Jennifer were saying, and she just kept on crying. I'm like, can you please put your girl panties on and put a smile on? And we're here as grown-ups. We're gonna act like grown-ups and not like little kids. And we're gonna just get through the day like we normally do. And if we can't do that, I will let your what do you call it, your personal provider know that you're throwing a tantrum. And so she's like, you can't do that. And I was like, yo, I'm a coach now. So I went and got her the other coach, and she came and told that athlete, you can go sit inside for 5 minutes and I'm going to go with you, because that's not okay to treat a coach like that. And then one last scenario was like Mary said, too, and like Jennifer, in my Special Olympics soccer, it doesn't matter if somebody's not having a good day. I try to put a smile on no matter what and move on. And I try to encourage those people if they're not having a good day. Like if there's two people that are making me upset because it has to be just all about them. It's like, I'll just taking my own 10 deep breaths. I'll go calmly talk to a coach and say, hey, I'm still going to be here to have fun. I'm going to enjoy myself. I got a smile on. I'm not going to let them bother me. But I just want to let you know that if they're going to have issues like that, can they just go home then? And the coach was like, yeah, we have to sadly agree. So they had a meeting with all of us at the end, like, if you guys are going to show up to practice with that attitude and you're going to be making people feel miserable because you guys feel miserable, then please don't bother showing back up for practice unless you guys can come with without hurting other people.
Yeah. So it sounds like
So
there were
then
some.
for the last 4 to 5 practices, the people that were making those problems still showed up. So the coaches told them, sorry, but you guys have to leave the premises because we don't put up with that stuff.
Yeah, so it sounds like they may have been in the tanking performance state, and some ways that could be helpful is trying to help set smaller goals for those individuals to kind of help lift their spirits and help lift them out of that negative energy. I'm seeing JP has raised his hand, and then I also saw Stacy have her hand up. So I'm gonna have JP share first, and then we will go and.
I can absolutely wait if there's another 10 or 15 slides, but my question is, how can we deal with tanking when culture depends on taking expectations? Meaning that the expectation is to have such a low bar that it feels like tanking. But then how can we deal with that when the cultural dependence on it is what is expected? Is my question. I mean, there are little moments like today before the call, like what we've heard from others when I came onto this call. But I do think it is interesting how a team or a county, sometimes depends on the low bar expectation that feels like tanking. And then try to make that not tanking.
Yeah, that is a very good question. And I think that's something really important to talk about. And I think that some of the ways that you as an athlete could try to help handle that would be maybe talking to your coach or someone that you feel comfortable with within the organization to try to communicate that you're recognizing that their expectations are too low. And I think that sometimes as coaches, it can be hard to know what expectations to set for athletes. And so I think communicating that is important. And then also, like, everybody has a different ability and everybody has different like skill levels on every team in every scenario, from Olympics to, 3-year-old kick and chase. And so I think that a part of that you can do personally for yourself is making those smaller goals for yourself. Absolutely. So maybe the expectation is that you're gonna, lose the ball and you're gonna get mad if you're playing basketball. All my examples are basketball because that's the most sport I know. And so like maybe your goal for yourself is to keep possession of the ball for a minute. So making those small expectations for yourself to try to kind of outweigh some of the coaches' expectations, but that can be really frustrating. And I think we're going to encourage some of the coaches to be taking this class as well. So hopefully that some of these concerns can be heard by them as well.
Understand. Thank you for your time.
Of course. Thank you for your question. Stacy, I see your hand. Thank you for patiently waiting. Would you like to share?
Yeah, just like an example,
Mhm.
for yesterday and today and tomorrow, this Steve Garrity does hoop camp for us out here.
Yeah.
And like there's a couple people that are my team that can't really shoot the ball, and they get frustrated, so we have to like people said, we have to give the the good people have to give the ball and to them so that they can shoot and not us all the time.
You
That's
mean like
awesome
do like a tantrum,
sportsmanship.
you mean, Cece?
What?
You mean like you gotta be polite and generous? Like if I'm using you for example, like if I was to be passing it to Anna the whole time and you were to be like, oh, what about me? Or is that what you're trying to say? Is like then Anna and I have to
No,
share the ball with you?
no, we pass the ball to the people that who can't shoot it very well.
Yeah.
Oh,
So it
okay.
sounds like you're giving players that may not have the same skill level or
Skills
level
as other people
as
do.
other people, yeah, the opportunity to play as well, which is awesome sportsmanship and working together, which are some of our words from our introductions about what we think about when we think about sport. So I think that that is a very good example of something that you can do to help get out of that tanking performance state, as well as as well as setting smaller goals, helping other teammates who may be maybe could use a little bit more, maybe their weaknesses within the sport more and like have strength in other places. And so helping the people that are maybe not as good as you can help bring you joy and kind of get you out of that tanking performance state and help other people get out of that tanking performance state as well. Does anyone else have any more comments or questions
Pink
about the
said
tanking
something.
performance state before we go forward? Donnie, I see your hand.
So in sports, well, like the basketball, softball, or soccer we're playing,
Yeah.
I've been partying before,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm more and more competitive,
Yeah.
so it's kind of hard, like attitude or something. Well, for me, I'm trying to be a good leader, so
Yeah.
but be to keep positive or anything. So
That's awesome.
I won't give my hardest, but I know when we lose, but if we lose, it's kind of hard.
It super is. And I think that a huge part of this conversation is recognizing that everybody's been in the tanking performance state. Like this is not it's not ideally where you want to be, but it happens. We all get upset. We all get frustrated. We all start pouting. This morning in practice, I was a little frustrated with people in my boat and I was not in my ideal performance state. So I definitely get that. And I think that it's important to recognize that we all do it. And it's figuring out how we can do it less and how we can be in that ideal performance state more. Nicole, do you have another comment to add?
I was gonna quickly let you know that JP wrote you something.
Yes, I saw that.
All I was mentioning was a personal side of what Stacy was referring to in divisions and how sometimes maybe be misplaced in a way that then encourages tanking performance activities.
Yeah. And I think that can be frustrating if you're placed in the wrong division or if you have other teammates placed in the wrong division. But doing what Stacy was telling us about how like sharing the ball time and helping them is great way. And then also letting them help you, because we all have strengths and weaknesses, and we all have places that we need some help with, and we all have places that we can help others with. And so making sure that you recognize that and you can have that give and take, because it's all a give and take. Nicole, yeah?
Like Anna, does it count when I, like, for example, for like snowboarding, when I gave, like, I didn't like technically quit. I just gave it up to let others try to get first place instead of always me, 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 me. Does that count, like what Stacy was saying?
Yeah, I think it definitely does. I think giving that opportunity to other people is important. Emily, see your hands up. Birthday girl.
I don't know if this counts as the subject we're talking about, but
It's okay.
I think it was like a few years ago when Special Olympics was couldn't raise enough money where we couldn't compete, so we were sort of competing, not like where we usually do, where we go and compete against other states, but we did it where we were competing, like, so like Oregon. I don't know if you guys, like, I don't know if Portland or Salem were doing the same thing, but like in Albany, Oregon, we did for like, it was bowling where we were just competing from all over the rest of the state, but we were staying in our state
Yeah.
You mean
instead
like
of
on
going.
Zoom?
But like bowling, like no, it was a few years ago. It's been a while where we did statewide,
Mm.
and instead of, where we instead of they did it in an age group. I think it was age group. They did it a little different than usual, and I didn't think it was fair because I have a friend and she doesn't bowl very well, and she got first place, and her dad didn't think she should have gotten the first place because she doesn't bowl very well. We
Yeah,
all
I
know
get
she
what
doesn't
you're
bowl
saying
very
now.
well, and the way they did it, her dad didn't think she should have gotten that ribbon, and he didn't think it was fair,
Well, I think that
and I felt
Bad for her?
yeah, in a way I felt bad of the way they had to do it that year,
So the way
because
like they handled it.
the way they had to do the score, I felt really bad.
I know
yeah,
where you're coming from, Emily. Because I
Because
get the
it's
same
like
with
me,
you.
I bowl really good, but she bowls really bad. Like I did really good for coming through state out of so many. I can't remember how many I was going against stuff, but I think I got like third place, which is really good.
Hey, Emily,
That was a
Emily.
lot of people. I was surprised.
Emily.
But I just, in my defense, I didn't think the way they had to do it, I didn't think that was fair. But
Hey,
I
Emily.
understood that they had to do it,
Emily.
in my defense.
Nicole, hold on. Let Emily finish, and then
And
you
I was
can.
gonna tell her something.
Okay. Now
Hey,
that Emily's
Emily.
done, you can.
Emily,
Yeah.
this is your friend Nicole. I was gonna let you know that calmly, nicely, and then we'll let Anna take back over. Because I know we're running out of time. So, anyways, really quick, make a long story short, I know where you're coming from, woman, because I used to do special mixed golf before I switched over to softball, and they'd always place me in the wrong category, and they would always pair me up with the blind people and the walker people and the wheelchair people, and I'd always get first, and they'd always get a ribbon, and I felt really bad, and I'm not lying. I seriously started crying my eyes out, and I took off my gold medal, and I was about to pass it off to the next person that was blind, and the coaches and stuff looked at me like, Nicole, we're sorry, but you cannot do that. That's your medal. You have to keep it. It's not allowed to get given to somebody else. I'm like, I don't care what the rules are. I'm going to give it to somebody that deserves it because you guys ended up putting me in the wrong category.
Sounds
And they still wouldn't let me. So when nobody was looking, I snuck my medal to the blind person that got a ribbon.
Sounds like there is some issues with how divisions work sometimes. So
Yeah,
that's
I had to explain to her dad why they had to do it that year.
yeah.
He did not quite understood it, but once he understood it, he understood it.
That makes sense. And it sounds like that was probably really frustrating for you, Emily, and definitely could have put you in that tanking performance state. And I think that when things are out of our control like that, trying to find things that are within our control is really important. And that can go back to how like setting smaller goals for ourselves can be a very helpful way to have personal victories. And bring it back into ourselves and try to get less focused on the external things that are happening.
Because she even knows she bowled really bad, so, but she was happy she got got first place.
Yeah.
But
That's
she
good.
knew she didn't earn it, so it was just, I was like, when they said that, I was really shocked. Her mom was shocked too.
Yeah, it definitely
It was
sounds
just one of
pretty
those,
frustrating.
they just the way they had to do it. I just didn't think it was fair for the whole state of the way they had to do it. I didn't think it was fair to everybody.
Yeah. Emily, I just private messaged you.
Okay, yes. Okay, so we're going to move on from the tanking performance state because we got 4 of these to get through. Did anyone else have a scenario that they wanted to share really quick? I wanted to make sure that everyone gets time to share if they wanted to. Thank you for everyone for sharing. I really appreciated how everyone did not use names. I forgot to make that a standard in the beginning. So thank you for doing that anyway. When we're sharing these kind of stories, we want to make sure we're not using names and just saying, oh, I was once on a team with this kind of person. And when you can, let's talk about ourselves, times that you've been in these performance states. So the next performance state, this next little bit lighter blue in the circle, is called the anger performance state. So this is when you care a lot about the sport that you're doing, but you are losing or not having a great performance. And you rationalize losing by finding blame with other people on your team. And you may have negative self-talk, you may have negative communication with teammates. And this is a performance state that's super common. I see it a lot. I struggle with this one for sure. It's really hard when you are caring so much and the game isn't going well, the practice isn't going well, and you're like, oh, well, my teammate, let's call this teammate B, our teammate B is not passing the ball well, or our teammate A just missed their shot. So it can be easy to put blame on other people. And so when you're in this performance state, you really want to try to turn your focus away from your teammates and onto yourself. So finding something that you can do better and kind of going back to those setting little goals for yourself. So trying to find things that you can be successful in and trying to find things that your teammates are being successful in and identifying the positives. This performance state is really hard to identify because when you're in it, you don't like to admit that you're in it. You don't, at least I don't, personally, I don't like to admit that I'm being angry and blaming other people for possibly my lack of performance. And I think that you can always do better. Even when you're doing the best, there's always ways that you can improve. And I think that it's important to try to bring it back to yourself and, okay, well, my teammate A missed their shot, but I could have rebounded it. Or teammate B may have passed it to the wrong person, but I know I've done that before. And what are ways that I can help like intercept that pass, or ways to help deal with that? Does anyone have a quick scenario they want to share about being in the anger performance state? We are getting a little low on time, so if it's not like super relevant to the anger performance state, we may need to hold on to that story for now. Okay. I'm gonna move on. I'm scanning. It doesn't seem like anyone has anything they feel super the need to share. But has anyone been in this performance state? I just want to see a quick raise of hands, see if people have
Oh,
felt this.
someone said something about Donnie.
I
Oh,
have,
Nicole.
I have. Can I explain real quick?
Yes. I'd
Well,
love to.
when I was at the thing yesterday and today, I couldn't make free throws and I was putting myself down. I was getting mad at myself. So I kept saying, okay, tomorrow I'll do better.
Mhm. That's a great way to try to turn that negative talk into positive talk. Something that can also happen sometimes, like Stacy, I'm going to keep using your example. I'm not saying this is how you experienced it, but if I know I've been at basketball camps before, and when I'm not making my free throws, I've sometimes been like, well, this other teammate of mine is not making their throws or their layups, and kind of getting mad or like comparing myself to other people, which is a thing that is supernatural and happens a lot. And all of these performance states are performance states because they're common and they happen, and we're all human. And so we all will not be in the ideal performance state all the time, but recognizing what performance state you're in and trying to move to the closer to the ideal performance state is what we're trying to do. Yeah, Chris?
So Nicole says something about Donnie. I don't get what she was saying. So no, Nicole.
May have been a private message, possibly.
Not so.
Okay.
He was saying for me not to interrupt when I wasn't.
Oh.
Well, let's keep the private messages private. And if there is something that you guys need to talk about, we can try to talk about it after class, okay?
He was just letting me know I was interrupting when I wasn't.
Okay.
Okay. I didn't know, Nicole. I was just wondering what you were talking about.
Okay. We'll just move forward to the next performance state. So the next performance state is called choking. So this is the lightest blue. This is the closest to the ideal performance state. And choking is when you care so much about your sport that it turns into fear. And you're trying so hard, but nothing's working. Like maybe you're trying really hard to make your free throws, but the harder you try and the more tense you get, the harder it is to make the free throws.
I did that with practice one time. Like,
yeah,
I was screwing it up on practice. I was like, screw it, I'm just having fun.
That's exactly what you need to do when you're in the choking performance state, is saying, screw it, I'm just gonna here to have fun.
Yeah.
And you try to shake it off. And so doing breathing exercises, I know Nicole mentioned earlier, doing 10 deep breaths is a strategy she's used. Chris is possibly above my skill level and is able to just say, screw it, I'm just here having fun. I struggle with that one big time.
I just laugh at what I do. I was like, oh my gosh, look at what I did. And
That's what I did yesterday and today. I gotta go, oh my God, I did horrible.
Yeah, just laugh about it. So, oh wow.
I was laughing about it. It's like, we haven't played basketball like for 2 years, and like I was off.
Yeah.
Anna,
and so okay, hold on, Nicole. So I think that Stacy and Chris, those are very good ways to kind of loosen up and start playing with confidence and playing for fun again, because when you're tense and you're getting mad and you're getting stressed about not doing well or not making your free throws or whatever it is, then that's just going to keep snowballing into a bigger and bigger, like you're going to just keep doing worse and worse because you're now tense and you're not going to be playing as well or focused as much because you're putting so much energy into being upset. And so both those strategies are fantastic. Yes, Nicole?
I was gonna try to say that what was it now? Oh, it's like what Chris said, put a smile on, but does this count really quick? I was rock because rock climbing is a sport, right?
Yes.
I
Yep.
do it with OES, and they got me over my fear because 3 weeks into my training, this is like a couple years ago, I'm not lying, I got up to the very top. I was proud of myself. I started laughing with the coach, and then all of a sudden the other coach was like, "Don't look down at me," and I looked down at anyways, and then I started crying, and it was just a nightmare. And then they had to quickly lower me and comfort me, and they're like, "You're okay now. You're back on the ground." I'm like, "I don't want to do that again," and now I'm like over that fear.
That's awesome. Yeah, that kind of relates. I think that it sounds like you let the fear get the best of you. And then if you, let's say you weren't at the top yet and you still had more to climb and you got overwhelmed, then that would be like very relevant to this, because then you wouldn't be able to keep going because you've now like let the like you wanting to do well turn into being afraid. Okay. Anyone have any last quick comments on that one? I'm just scrolling through to make sure no one's jumping at the bit to talk. Okay, we're gonna go on to, this is our last section. It is the ideal performance state. So this is when you are calm, you're powerful, you're finding success. This is something that like is really hard to get to. And it takes a lot of practice to get here, but when you get here, you know it. It's when you're like in your flow state. Like, have you ever been practicing or playing your sport and you know you're just hitting strikes, for Mary's like bowling examples, or hitting your free throws or your shots, you're dribbling, your team is working together well, it's going well. And this, like a lot of athletes will experience this in very like small time frames. It'll happen like in quick little like spurts, but and then like you spend your entire time really doing when you're practicing trying to get back into this state. And you can talk to like Olympians, you can talk to like high, like very experienced athletes, and they're still trying to figure out how to be in the ideal performance state all of the time, because that's what, like, when you're here, you're going to be the most successful. Because it's not helpful if you are so frustrated and so scared of failing that you're so tense and you're not able to do anything, like in the choking performance state, or when you're so angry that it's not going well that you're blaming everyone else and you can't take any responsibility for yourself, and you can't like find any success because you're just so angry and blaming all your teammates. Like, that's also not going to get you to the highest levels or get you much success. And with tanking, like that example, you don't really care that much at all. Like, that is the furthest one away. And I don't think any of us are like in that zone consistently, because that zone you really have to not care much about your sport. And I know all of you guys, and I know that you guys really do care about your sports and your teammates. And so I know I find myself in the anger and choking performance states a lot, and working on getting to the ideal performance state more, which I think is what everyone's doing. Does anyone has anyone experienced the ideal performance state and want to share about it real quick? We have just a couple minutes before this is Donnie?
Like I said, I never blame anyone, so I never blame any players. I'm trying to be a good sport myself here. So
That's awesome. I wish I had that ability. I wish I could never blame other people. Y'all are just on different levels than I am, I gotta say. Gonna have to take some lessons from you guys.
Annie, I have to agree with Donnie that because I got raised in a Christian home where we don't put ourselves down, we don't put others down, and we just support one another no matter what. If they're having a off day or a off sports or whatever, or they're gonna have like we call it bad sportsmanship, we still can encourage them and stuff like that. That's how I got raised.
Yeah, well, I think that I'm very glad that you have those experiences. I think that it's still fairly easy to find yourself in a place that you're blaming other people. And it's okay when you're in that place, but trying to recognize it and trying to take steps to get out of that place. And it's not necessarily just blaming your teammates. It could be blaming officials. I know I've had basketball games where I get so mad at the referees, and I'm like, oh well, they ruined the entire game. They called everything wrong. They called fouls on the other team. Like, they never called fouls on the other team. They only called fouls on us. Like, they never called anything right.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I get mad at the refs when when the Blazers play. It's like I'm going, man, they don't call them foul. It's like
I agree with you, Stacy. They don't call the
I
fouls.
get real angry.
Yeah. So when you're playing and that happens, that's when you're falling more into that anger performance state. Which, as we talked about, some of those ways to get out of that is trying to find ways that control that you can have and ways that you can take control. So Stacy, thank you for giving me some examples there and making me feel like I'm not the only one that gets out here in this anger performance state.
Casey, I have to agree with you. Same with soccer. I'll get mad at a ref and say, hey, did you not just see him body check me with using this elbow in soccer when we're not supposed to? And the ref's like, I didn't catch that. I'm like, put some glasses on then. Jeez. And then they're like, you can go have a seat now. I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, so it sounds like you do get in the performance state, or in the anger performance state some. Donnie, I see your hand.
All right, so in basketball, so when I play, but it's hard to maybe like a foul or out of bounds or something like that. But I really get frustrated. But I never say anything back to the referee. I never do that.
Yeah, me too.
But
are on a different level than me, I gotta say.
When one of my teammates got mad at the referee, and I grabbed him and talked to him. I said, dude, we could beat them. Like, he's like, oh, we can? I said, yeah, just follow me. Then we just end up creaming them.
That's awesome.
And make sure keep the body inside.
Yeah.
So that's how I would do. So
yeah. So it sounds like with both of those examples, you guys recognize that there's some anger happening, and you try to figure out how you can be in control of your own emotions and your reactions to make them helpful and put you in the ideal performance state. So we are almost out of time. I'm going to take this opportunity to let anyone that needs to run out. We just have a couple more slides to finish up. It will not take much longer, but I know that this is the time that we're supposed to end. So if you gotta go, thank you so much for coming. Yeah, okay, that was our last slide.
That's a good one.
Did you pick Blue and Miracle?
I'm going to stop the recording.
It was a good topic.